Fred Vasseur stood in front of the cameras after the Miami Grand Prix and tried to explain what we all saw, and what many fans still don't understand. With a calm tone and practiced words, he insisted that Ferrari's controversial team orders were not only justified, but part of a long-standing team policy. But here's the problem: when you listen closely, his explanation sounds more like damage control than leadership. During the race, Hamilton was clearly faster on fresher medium tires. Leclerc, running on hards, couldn't match the pace. Still, Ferrari delayed the order to let Lewis through. And when they finally did, the moment had passed. Even worse, they swapped the positions again, handing 7th back to Leclerc. What exactly was the point? Vasseur claimed the team needed time to determine whether the pace was real or just a DRS effect. That sounds logical in a meeting room, but in a race, every second counts, and Hamilton knew it. His radio was full of frustration, and for good reason. Then came the real twist. Vasseur said Ferrari did the right thing because no other team made that kind of call. That's not leadership, that's deflection. While Vasseur defended the policy, the world saw indecision, poor timing, and a strategy that helped no one. Not Hamilton, not Leclerc, and definitely not Ferrari. Fred Vasseur insists that Ferrari did what they had to do. But if that's true, then why did both of his drivers leave Miami asking for internal meetings? Why did Lewis Hamilton say they lost a lot of time overtaking each other? Why did Charles Leclerc claim the team's decisions weren't the right ones? The reality is that what unfolded on track didn't look like strategy. It looked like hesitation, confusion, and worst of all, a lack of trust. Hamilton was pushing hard on the alternate strategy, switching from hards to mediums and showing real pace. He was ready to attack, but instead of unleashing him, Ferrari slowed the decision-making process down to a crawl. By the time Lewis got past Leclerc, it was already too late to challenge Antonelli ahead. And then, the sting, Leclerc was given the place back. A move that made no difference to the outcome, but said everything about Ferrari's priorities. Leclerc, for his part, kept his cool. He didn't blame Hamilton, but his words were sharp. We didn't do anything wrong, but the decisions weren't right. This wasn't just a failed strategy call, it was a mirror reflecting a team that's still unsure how to manage two top-tier drivers. Miami didn't just expose Ferrari's pace deficit, it exposed the cracks in their foundation, and both drivers felt it. Lewis Hamilton's radio messages during the Miami Grand Prix said more than just, "I'm stuck behind a Leclerc." They revealed something deeper, a growing sense of misalignment between the 7-time world champion and the team that promised to build around him. When Hamilton said, "This is not good teamwork," it wasn't a hot-headed moment, it was a calculated expression of disappointment. He just caught Leclerc on fresher tires, with better pace, in the middle of Ferrari's pursuit of Antonelli. But instead of making the obvious call, Ferrari hesitated, and when they finally acted, the window of opportunity was already closing. Then came the sarcasm. Have a tea break while you're at it. Not a meltdown, not an attack. Just sharp, stinging irony from a driver who's been in the game long enough to recognize when a team is hesitating instead of executing. Even after the race, Hamilton remained composed but firm. "We lost a lot of time. The decision should have been taken sooner." He didn't accuse the team. He didn't blame Leclerc. He simply pointed to what everyone watching could already see. The most telling part, Hamilton said his comments were taken out of context, that people are too sensitive, which begs the question, was he calming the storm or pointing out that Ferrari doesn't yet understand how to manage a driver like him? While Hamilton's frustration was loud and sarcastic, Charles Leclerc took a different route, quiet, measured, but just as telling. After finishing 7th, he didn't lash out. He didn't complain about the swap, but his words cut through just as sharply. "We have to do better. The decisions weren't the right ones." Leclerc knows how Ferrari works. He's been the team's golden boy for years, navigating the politics, the pressure, and the expectations. But even he couldn't hide his unease after Miami. He admitted it straight. "We need to talk about it internally." That's not a small comment. That's a public signal that trust has been shaken, and the timing couldn't be worse. This was supposed to be a season of clarity, with Ferrari giving Leclerc the continuity he craved and Hamilton the fresh start he was promised. Instead, both drivers left Miami feeling undermined, one through delay, the other through confusion. Leclerc made it clear he had no issue with Hamilton. "No bad intention," he said, but he also emphasized something else. "I need to talk more with the team than with Lewis." Translation: the problem isn't between the drivers while it's inside the garage, and when both drivers agree that something needs to change, it usually means it already has. Fred Vasseur may have stood by the policy, he may have defended the timing, but what Miami showed us is that policy without clarity becomes paralysis. Ferrari didn't act decisively, they reacted slowly. And by the time they made the right calls, the race had already slipped away. This wasn't about choosing between Leclerc and Hamilton. It was about reading the moment, trusting the data, and making bold decisions when they mattered most. Instead, Ferrari hesitated, and in Formula One, hesitation costs points. Hamilton made it clear. Are we racing each other or trying to catch the others? It's a simple question with massive implications, because right now, it feels like Ferrari is doing both and succeeding at neither. Leclerc's words echoed that frustration. We didn't do anything wrong, but the decisions weren't right. That sentence captures the entire weekend. If Ferrari wants to be more than the third or fourth best team, they need more than fast drivers and updated setups. They need leadership that adapts in real time, not 2 hours later in a press conference. And above all, they need to rebuild trust on both sides of the garage. What happened in Miami wasn't just a one-off strategy slip. It was a moment that exposed how fragile Ferrari's internal balance really is. When two elite drivers walk away from a race demanding internal talks, something's broken. And when both publicly question the team's decision-making, it's no longer just frustration. It's a crisis of confidence. Hamilton joined Ferrari with the promise of a new era, a car built for him, a structure that listens. But Miami told a different story, one where timing, communication, and authority crumbled under pressure. Leclerc, on the other hand, was supposed to be the foundation of the team's long-term plan, yet even he admitted, "We have to do better." The paddock took notice. Rival teams saw not just a missed opportunity, but a Ferrari stuck in old patterns, slow to react, afraid to commit, and too focused on internal balance to make bold moves. And fans, they saw Hamilton neutered by hesitation and Leclerc restrained by politics. Behind closed doors, Ferrari may try to patch things up, but trust doesn't rebuild overnight. Especially when both drivers, with very different styles, walk away saying the same thing. Something needs to change. The only question now is, who will Ferrari really listen to? This is the crossroads. Ferrari can't keep managing races like this, trying to please both sides of the garage while sacrificing results. They have two world-class drivers, but if they keep hesitating, they'll lose more than just positions. They'll lose belief. Fred Vasseur said, "It's never easy." He's right. But that doesn't excuse the indecision. F1 is brutal. It rewards clarity, boldness, and unity. And right now, Ferrari has none of those. What we saw in Miami was more than strategy gone wrong. It was a spotlight on the cracks forming inside Maranello. Cracks made louder by every radio message, every delayed call, and every post-race interview. So we ask you, was Ferrari right to switch the drivers twice? Did they act too late? Or were they lost from the beginning? And most importantly, who should Ferrari build around? Hamilton, Leclerc, or neither? Comment your thoughts below. We read everyone. And if you believe Ferrari must make tough decisions now, hit the like button and share this video. Subscribe to F1 Prime News, where we bring you the real stories, behind the radio, behind the pit wall, and beyond the park curtain. Because sometimes, what's not said is exactly what matters most.